Write session for Washington Unified School District. Our slides are full of activities that we are going to use together. So please get to these slides. Here's your link. It's bit.ly/WUSD is all caps, lowercase RW, and then 8-20. So for those of you in the meeting, it's posted in the sidebar. So just kind of giving you a little bit of review before we dig into some exercises together. So Read and Write, your licenses include access to the Google Chrome extension that you guys have been using, but they also include access to Read and Write for Mac, Read and Write for Windows. We have tablet apps. And I brought that up because I wanted to make sure that you guys knew you had access to Read and Write Windows and Read and Write Mac, because they come with very robust scanning software. So if you guys need to scan things, you can do that with the Read and Write window, Read and Write Mac. We also have SnapVerter. And if scanning is a big thing for you guys, we can put together a scanning party for you so we can help get some content into Google Drive if that's something that you guys are kind of still doing this time of year. We have a public one coming up in September, but if you guys want your own, I am happy to do that as well. So hopefully everybody's over here with me in the slides. And I wanted to just kind of review a little bit, sort of why you might use Read and Write. So of course we want our students who aren't working at grade level to have access to text, right? But ideally, we're doing more than just reading things out loud. And I think with the switch to distance learning, anything that can help our students not just to be more engaged, but to really participate and own the content is really important. And I think that the action and the real meat of the action in Read and Write is with those colored highlighters. So I wanted to give you guys some example. Basically, when you want to bring the standards in and really work on those standards-based strategies, the highlighters are your friends. So here we've chosen main idea and detail. A student identified the main idea in one color, the details in another, and then pulled those out into a separate document. And so the cool thing about that, I don't know how much you guys are working with, maybe other content or, things where you're actually in like a publisher's website. This is still going to work that way and be that bridge to external content that you can bring into Google Drive, right? So here we did main idea and details. It could be compare and contrast. It could be hypothesis and conclusion. And it could even be for your, your basic literacy learners. This could even be identify all the short A words in yellow and all the short O words in blue. So we want to kind of go beyond just rote filling in a worksheet. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate the different file types that Read and Write for Google Chrome works with. So we've got the main toolbar that appears inside of Google Docs, also works in slides. This is what it looks like in the PDF. Those of you that have been using the tools for a while have noticed the PDF reader has changed and grown a lot. And then there's your web toolbar. So you really should be able to just layer Read and Write on top of whatever else you're doing. So I thought the bulk of what we would do today, I've got a great practice document for you guys. Let me let somebody in here. Hopefully you guys can get to that slide. So the slides, I'm going to, for our new members here, I'm going to drop the slides into the chat window. So you guys have that. And I am currently on slide 7. So if you can navigate to slide 7, there's a link there that says Read and Write Practice Google Doc. And I've got it set up as a template. So you'll be making a copy of it. Everything that I'm sharing with you today is open source. I want you to feel like you can use this with your students and your families and distribute it however you like. This is a really probably the best practice exercise that I've seen for learning to use Read and Write. And it was created by a really wonderful teacher in Wisconsin as part of her project for our Read and Write certification program. So I'll just follow this with you guys. And if you have questions, feel free to unmute or ask in the chat window. So we're just going to walk through this. And I didn't have Read and Write just automatically open, but I can go ahead and open it by clicking that purple puzzle piece up here. So if that's ever, a thing, the purple puzzle piece will make it appear. And just so you guys know, you can kind of hide it a little bit if you want to, and then just bring it down with that hanging tab. So this simple play, pause, stop. So I can choose any text on the page and hit the play button. It's going to read it out loud. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear this.
This tool will help you do that. Sometimes a teacher will.
And it's really important. The pause button is really important. I think that a lot of kids today don't necessarily know what a pause button is. I mean, I'm old enough to have had cassette tapes and VHS. I know what a pause button is. But a lot of kids stream everything, and if they want to pause it, they just go to another tab. So it is worth making sure that your students understand the purpose of the pause button. I also wanted to point out that you have some customizable settings over here. So if you hit the little meatballs and go to options, you can choose different voices. You can change the speed of the voice. And I can't remember, can you guys let me know, anybody here doing dual language instruction, or is everything English only? I'll let you know, if you wanted to work in Spanish, you could choose one of the Spanish voices. Mexican Spanish, Paulina's really good. And then you would actually change the language over here to Spanish and the features to Spanish. So did you notice how everything over here changed? That will allow you to have everything in Read and Write working in Spanish. The word prediction, the speech input, everything is going to work in Spanish if you do that. So pretty simple to do the basic text to speech. And once you know how to use one of these icons in, say, a Google Doc or Google Slide, then you know how to use it in a PDF or an EPUB. Pretty much works the same. So let's go ahead and move on to the dictionary. And I like to, you can scroll over things to select them, but if you want to select individual words, you can actually just double click on the word to select it. And I find that much more efficient. So here's my dictionary. I can hear this word read out loud, and I can also have that dictionary open at the same time I can have that picture dictionary open. So I get both the picture and the dictionary cue. And what's cool about this is, especially with older readers, as they are reading through some kind of more complex content, once you've selected something and looked it up, you can have that hanging around in the background. And then as you encounter text on the page that you want to work with, you can just select it and see whatever you need, right? So the exercise here is asking you to cut and paste the dictionary definition. The cool thing about the picture dictionary is you can actually drag that picture over into your Google Doc, which is sort of awesome. I don't know if any of you are trying to make sort of, functional instructions for things, especially if you're working with kids that need a little extra support. By no stretch of the imagination is Read and Write an augmentative communication program, but I have seen a lot of people do really great job with making some sort of functional instructions. So what if I wanted to make like a daily schedule? I could say 8 a.m. turn off the alarm, right? And 8:15 and 8:30. So what if I had the picture dictionary open and okay, there's my alarm clock. I didn't put it in quite the right place, but you guys get the idea. And we could do breakfast and pick a breakfast picture. Oh, that's my looked up 8:30. That's kind of cool, actually. So if you need like extra picture support for instructions, that's a kind of a cool way to do it. This is a tool that was probably mostly overlooked before COVID, and it's really been getting to work out. If any of your students either have, issues having access to their device, or what I'm seeing a lot is, mom and dad and 3 siblings are all working at home, and there's just not a lot of bandwidth. And maybe you just can't be on right now. This one right here is called the Audio Maker, and that's supposed to be a piece of paper wearing headphones. You can select any text in a Google Doc or, importantly, a website, and press that little button. And what it's going to do is it's going to make an MP3 of that content using the voice and speed that you have selected. And you can save that wherever you like. I'm just going to call it WSD, but you could save that to a Google folder that was shared with students. You could save that, and they could access it offline. You could save that to something that's synced with iTunes. Here's my MP3, and should be coming up any second.
If you would like to listen to a reading at
So that could be super helpful for students that have kind of some limited access. I don't know if anybody's using the web search tool. It took me a while to sort of understand this one. It is really helpful with students who are just learning research skills. It kind of takes some of the cognitive load down. So look what happens if I select most watched 80s movies and I click the web search button. It's basically like a one-click Google search. And it can be very, very helpful. Whoa, something changed. As you might imagine, I do this exercise pretty often. And wow, The Outsiders wasn't even on the list a couple of weeks ago. It was all Top Gun and Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing is gone, and we're back with The Outsiders. So I don't know what that means. Bad boys, something. So it's a really interesting way to kind of do some research skills. This one, Screen Mask, looks like like a monitor with a little line through it. And this is super helpful for attention. So it's customizable, like a lot of things in Read&Write. So you can see I've got it right now. So it's kind of tinting the screen and changing that. I can change this. So I can make the background color maybe something a little bit more soothing. And let's make the reading light color, we'll just make it black. So we can do that. But some kind of interesting things that we can do, I could change the reading light color instead to, let's see here. I'm going to change the reading light color instead to clear. And you can see now I'm kind of looking through. And then let's say you had a student that wanted to quiz themselves before, a test. You could take that background and make that really dark. So you could be like, okay, ask myself the question. There's the answer. So you've got a lot of options with screen masking, and this will also work on PDFs and web toolbar. Any questions? I know I'm going pretty fast. All right, we'll plug on. Let's talk about word prediction. So word prediction is that little, it's supposed to be a crystal ball. I had one student say once it was an exploding brain, which maybe it is. So I'm going to go ahead and type what's there. And I'm going to turn on. And you'll notice it gives me a list of words.
This, there, they.
And because I have the dictionary and the picture dictionary open, it's not just a random list of words. We don't want students using word prediction. Let's say the teacher asks them to write 100 words and they just click it 100 times. We want to use word prediction to help students to really choose the right word for their situation. And I think it's very helpful for students to be able to use grade level academic vocabulary that they might be otherwise a little shy of. So all of the words in this list are capitalized, and they're all good words to start a sentence with because I'm at the beginning of the sentence, right? So I'm going to say there, and I just clicked on it.
Are, was, are.
Now you'll notice R is a homonym, right? So a lot of your students might have trouble knowing whether to spell O-U-R or A-R-E. So that's another reason that you might want to use the word prediction. It helps students who have trouble with things like homonyms and homophones, commonly misspelled words, but it also helps with things like subject-verb agreement, plural endings, that kind of thing. So for a lot of students, if it's time to show what you know about Spanish, it's a little hard to do, or about Spanish, about science, it can be a little bit hard to do. So let's see, we're looking for white, so I'm going to misspell white.
White.
And it still understood what I meant, right?
Claw, close, cloud,
So remember, we're talking about plural endings.
clouds.
And maybe I'm a phonetic speller, and I'm going to spell
World.
sky like this,
Shade.
S-K-I.
Skin. Ski.
Whoa, that's not what I meant. Let me try something else. Let me see what happens if I change that. Oh,
Sky.
yeah, that's what I meant. So kind of give you an idea of ways that you can support your students with that. Sometimes I have teachers that aren't real heavy on word prediction. Of course, if it's, word study time, maybe word prediction is not what you want to use. But when it's science time or, social studies time and you want the students to actually, talk about content, it's very, very helpful. I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to go to the talk and type. That's the little headphone. You just press it and talk. Let's see. It's asking me what I had for breakfast. I had oatmeal with bananas and almonds for breakfast. So that's all you need to do there. And then check it is also really helpful. So when we were using word prediction, we are trying to help the students choose the correct words. It helps a lot with some of the grammar, but we need for students to take it a little bit farther in the writing process and go back and revise and edit, right? And so there are programs out there that will fix everything for you. We're educators. We don't want to just fix it. We want the students to learn how to fix their own work. So I'm going to select this text right here and I'm going to click the check it button. And you're going to see in a moment everything that that I may need to change, that I want to review, is going to be highlighted in purple. So you know how Google will do it in red. This will do it in purple. And so when I click on that, I'm going to get some suggestions. Did I mean this is, these am, these are? I think I meant this is, and I can change that. And when you look at the suggestions, there are often commonly misspelled words like school, right? And you can see I've still got the picture dictionary, the dictionary open to help me. But you'll notice some of the suggestions that we make in here go a little bit farther than simple spelling errors. We understand that especially students with disabilities and English learners, very often auditory discrimination can be an issue. So you'll notice that for a lot of students, or school, skill, skull, those all sound very similar. So maybe they might need a little refresher. So lots that you can do here, and it is iterative. I don't have an example here that I'm going to change for you, but if you changed, for instance, something to a plural, then it would go back and highlight the verb again if that needed to be changed. So any questions about that? Okay. I like this best of any way I've ever seen on how to use the highlighters. And just remember, this is a template that you guys can use. Like if you wanted to train your students to use the highlighters, you could copy just this part, and share that. So she's done a really great job of using the categories to really make you think about how the highlighters work. So we're going to follow through here. I'm going to say that plants are green. So dog, Hawaii, yellow frog, maple. Maple's a plant. So I'm going to select maple and color that in green. And then animals are blue. So that's a dog. She's kind of messing with your neural pathways. We've got a blue dog and a blue frog. That's kind of weird. The places are pink. So we got a pink Hawaii, and we got a pink Alaska, and we got a pink Georgia. And then our colors are yellow. And yellow is yellow. Oops. I changed Georgia to pink. We'll make that. Come on, Nora. Let's make Georgia pink. Let's make yellow, yellow. And then green is also yellow. So it's kind of weird. And then when we're ready, we can click the collect highlights button, the one that looks like a recycling symbol. We're going to click that and we can sort by color here. We could also sort by order, and it's going to make us a new Google Doc, and it's going to separate out all of those categories by color. So however you wanted to do this, right? So we've got our categories separated out, and we talked about that a little at the beginning. If you were doing a literature study, you might want to do it in order. You might want to have, one character's motivation in blue and the other character's in green, and you could, compare them later. You can get rid of your highlights by swiping them away there. And then I know one of the most popular tools in Read&Write is always the vocabulary list. We've already selected things for our vocabulary list, so we're going to just click vocabulary, and we're going to get a new Google Doc in our Google Drive. And that Google Doc is going to have a table. The table is going to have the word we selected, the picture from the picture dictionary, and a blank place for me to do whatever I like. So looks like it's still kind of building a little bit here, but you guys get the idea. And I got there by clicking that little bullet list, this guy right here. Okay. And I wanted to remind you, you can do that on a PDF. You can do that on a website. So if you have like an online textbook, you could have students pull out key vocabulary, and then you could extend that with them here. And this is just a Google Doc. You can put it in Google Classroom and do whatever you like there. So that's the vocabulary. This is another one that's really getting a workout. Let me give us a little room over here. This is another one that's really getting a workout with the distance learning. This is the voice note. So I can click on the voice note and record. So it's asking me, telling me your favorite food. So we're going to click on it, and I'm going to click the microphone and speak. My favorite food has always been artichokes. Good thing I live in California and they're easy to get. And then I'm going to insert, and it's kind of hard to see, but this is a little rainbow line as like a little progress bar. And what it's going to do is it's going to take that recording of my voice. It's going to add the MP3 of that recording to a comment in the Google Doc. So this means that anybody who you share this doc with that even has viewing privileges is going to be able to. My favorite food has always here. So this is a really great way for, like, if you want your students to be able to share with you, or you want to give some, verbal instructions. I know that's a big part of SEL is making that connections right now. And then last thing I wanted to go over was just the practice reading out loud. Pretty simple. It'll make like a little fluency passage for your students. And they can read this out loud, and then they can send it back to you so you can hear their reading. So we've covered kind of a lot in a fairly short time. I wanted to go back to these resources for you. So one of the questions that I've gotten a lot since people went distance is for PDFs. So if you guys are having any issues around PDFs or organizing PDFs and making sure that you have everything, this document right here will walk you through kind of a step-by-step, almost like a flow chart of what to do with PDFs. And I wanted to point out, I think you guys are big on Google Classroom. Is there anybody in the session that's been having trouble sharing PDFs with the Texthelp PDF Reader inside Google Classroom? Is that going okay for you guys? I'm going to hope no news is good news, but if it's not, there are instructions here to change the settings so that you have the assign button and your students have the turn it in button. And I'll go back and make sure that Amanda knows that. You can push those settings out district-wide, and I'll make sure that Amanda knows that. But I wanted you guys to have that. Another question that I've gotten a lot is graphic organizers. And so what I did was I put together a bunch of graphic organizers that are pretty easily available online. And this is 2 pages. The first page here has the graphic organizers set up for Google Docs. And the second page has them set up in PDF format. So if you wanted to do something kind of more visual, you might want to do the PDF format. Like you wanted to do the Venn diagram and you wanted to really clearly show those things, you might like it better in the PDF format. And these are all set up as links. So here's a sentence frame. So that you can share that exact link with your students and they'll get the blank, right? So lots of good stuff there. And I've got tons more resources for you guys here. And there was just a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on before I let you guys go. You can go through here. This is actually an SBAC practice. This is a hyperdoc showing how you might integrate read and write into a hyperdoc. And I wanted to also make sure that you guys knew about the data desk. So as your students are working remotely, you're going to be looking for ways to engage them, and then also looking for ways to really, do some formative assessment and get some data. So if you go to these slides right here, it'll walk you through in great detail how to use the data desk. But basically, you're going to go to the data desk link that's in these slides, and it's going to ask you to connect up your Google Classroom. And once you do, you're going to see your students here, and there's a couple of things you get. One is you get a remote feature switch. So maybe you're doing a spelling exercise, and during that time you don't want your students to have access to the word prediction or the speech input. You could remotely turn those off for your whole class and then just turn them back on again. The default is an hour, so that if you just wanted to do it like during a specific meeting, you could. But the really good stuff here is that you are going to be able to select either your whole class or individual students, and you're going to be able to make this big. You're going to be able to pick a time frame, and you're going to be able to see not only how often and how much they're using read and write, but you're going to be able to see which tools. So you can see lots of text to speech, picture dictionary. You're going to be able to see that for your students. So if, for instance, you're working with your students on using word prediction, ideally you could go in for the 2 weeks after and see a spike in the use of word prediction. So I wanted to make sure you had that. And again, there's more in here than we're ever going to get to, but I wanted you guys to have some resources. And the next to the last slide, slide 26, I put together some handy links. And again, I'll talk to Amanda and see if maybe we can get some of these posted for the families. But these will be good for you. This is a video of using Read and Write for remote learning, just some of the key tools that'll be helpful. We do have a free training portal where you can go do brief learning modules and earn badges. And then I thought this might be helpful for you guys. I have been working with some districts where the district is actually pushing out like a lesson packet for each grade band. And this is just showing one district's lesson packets and how you would use Read and Write to sort of extend the learning there. And that's our support site. And this will be really, really helpful. I think you could do this through your classroom, but let's see if we can get Amanda or somebody to push this out for the district. This is, again, a template. You guys can customize it however you like. This is just something that you can share with families about how you would use Read and Write. So it's got an introductory video. It's got videos showing how to log in for the first time. And then it's got videos of the most popular features. So with that, I think our time is up. Let's see, can I copy and add to my website for parents, this last website? Yes, you absolutely can. So everything I shared with you, feel free to post it, share it, whatever you like. Any other questions? Give you just a minute here. So definitely you've got my contact information. I'm more than happy to work with you guys if you decide you want to kind of dig into scanning and getting some content into Google Drive. Please let me know. And thanks again for joining me this morning. Much appreciated. Good luck in your new school year.